Hi, and welcome back to another Tech Hour session. My name is Lena. I'm a Creatio Academy trainer. And today's topic, well, actually, there is a bit of a change. I know we announced that we are going to do chats this week, but due to some technical issues that we are having currently, that topic will be rescheduled. So please stay tuned for the new date for that topic. Today, though, we are still going to cover something very interesting and exciting. Today's topic is going to be gateways and how to work with them. Something that I've noticed while working as a trainer that gateways tend to be overlooked or underexplored by a lot of the users, well, by a lot of business analysts. I'm not sure about developers as much, but with what I'm seeing, at least sometimes in the way assignments are completed, is that most of the time people use only two getaways, and the way they utilize them, sometimes it's not exactly clear what you can do with them and how to achieve the necessary results. So people could create more complicated solutions rather than creating something very clean, very simple, and elegant in terms of the business process diagram. So today we're going to dive into our getaways and see how they can help us basically route our business process, split it into multiple flows, or maybe bring them together in a way that makes sense for our process that we're trying to build. So we're going to look at all four getaways today. We're going to see how they can be used and basically some practical ways that you can utilize them. So we are going to start with our exclusive getaway, then no, actually we're going to start with the parallel getaway, then move to an exclusive one, inclusive getaway, and then the event-based getaway. So let's dive into today's topic. So the first getaway that we are going to explore is going to be our basically parallel getaway, and for that I'm going to do kind of like an approval process that requires two approvals simultaneously getting to a particular result. So let's go ahead and go into the order section, where we're going to quickly create basically a case, and we're going to create a sub process there. So what I'm going to do next is go to the section cases. Yes, you can do the signal, process, but I think the solution in terms of at least approval seems a little bit more elegant as if you can utilize the cases, if the section has a need for a case. So this is going to be our status. I feel that we're going to be building the case based on. Okay, I'm getting a little notification, so let's always allow new case. And again, here we're not focusing on the case itself, but rather on the getaway. So again, I'm not going to be spending too much time building it. So we're going to call this order processing and quickly throw together our stages. Draft, confirmation, progress, completed, canceled. I'm going to group this, change the color, and again just do some color changes to the stages. That's the main thing that I'm going to do. Okay, I have my order processing case. I'm going to quickly save this, and the next thing that we are going to do is going to be adding that approval process on the confirmation stage. So on in progress stage, let's do a sub process. We're going to call it approval. Sub process. What we are going to do next is create a process that requires 2 people to approve this order before it can go. Actually, I need it on the confirmation page, not on the progress, in order to go to in progress. If not, it's going to be canceled. Again, you can probably add more results, more parameters. Today we're going to keep it simple because the topic for today's session is getaways. So let's give it a name. Order approval. And again, if you worked with stub processes, I would like to remind you basically of these steps that, again, we recommend you follow when you set up a sub process. Just again, a simple couple of steps to ensure that everything will work properly. So give a name to my process, create my record identifier parameter, or ID. It's going to be an input parameter. I'm going to change the title in the code, but again, it's not really affecting much of what I'm doing. So that's part. The code part is optional. It's going to be just a little bit easier if you're a developer later on, if there needs to be a script task or something like that. Again, it's easier if you have if your codes are clear as well. So, okay. This is my parameter. Click Save. And once it's saved, we're going to go and insert our main record ID. Here it is. And save the change in the case. Again, by doing that, by kind of like not focusing right now on my process, but rather making sure that I have my record ID, I'm just kind of saving myself from some headache later on if I forget to do this part. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, today's topic is working with gateways. And here it is. Here are 4. This is our exclusive one, parallel, inclusive, and event-based. We're going to start with parallel. As the title suggests, it splits our flows into 2 parallel flows, and they will be launched simultaneously. Now, what a lot of people do forget is that this parallel getaway, or really any of the getaways that we will be talking about, but I think with parallel one, that's the most, you can see that not oftentimes we forget that incoming and outgoing flows will be used in the same manner. They will be activated in the same manner. So if they're launched in parallel, the getaway will also require the flows to complete in parallel if the next step is going to be another getaway. So what I'm going to do is simply this. If I want to launch my approvals at the same time and then wait for both people to approve at the same time, and until they do, I do not move on further in the process. This is my basically my diagram. I need my parallel getaway here and here. So let's go ahead and set up our approval element. So we're going to require approval from the accounting and sales department. So let's call this sales department. Approval section orders. Okay, the section has to have enabled approvals and before you can do this. So if your section is not appearing here, it means that the section currently does not have any doesn't have enabled approvals. So you need to enable it in the section wizard, then come back to the process. So I do have this in the order section, and I'm going to first define which record I'm approving and then who approves this. Again, for the simplicity of this process, in order not to go deep into the approval element, which is not the main topic of this video, I'm going to use roles, which I currently already have. So it's going to be a lookup value. And let's find sales department head office. Okay, and here's my first approval. Then I'm gonna just copy paste it, Control C, Control V, something happens off screen just to a certain degree. And this is going to be accounting department. And I'm just going to change the role just because, again, everything else, the record that I'm approving is the same, but do I have the accounting? Yes, head office. Okay, the approvals have been created. Now, if I do this, then my process will wait for both people to make a decision, whether positive or negative, on this approval until we proceed with the process. Let's be, again, in order to demonstrate to you how this works and how the getaways act in this regard, let's say that we only wait for 2 positive approvals, and in that case, we're going to grant a positive result. But if at least one of these people in these roles will reject, then we will cancel the order. Or maybe you can do a different stage again, where you require a person to add more documents, kind of go to pre-processing, something like that. Again, in order to keep this simple, we're going to just go send it to canceled stage at this point. So I'm going to change my flows to conditional. And yes, when working with getaways, your flows, you start to explore conditional flows, default flows, and we're going to do a lot more with them in the next examples. With this one, we just have the conditional one. So basically, if positive, and if positive, go here. Now, in order to record this result that we get to this point in the process, what we want to do is probably set up a result parameter, and our parameter is going to be recording the value. So I'm going to use a Boolean parameter. I'm going to call it positive result. And it's going to be an output parameter. So by default, the value of this field is going to be false. So what I need to do is either reset it to positive, which means true, or again, leave it as false or record it as false as well. So, and how do I do that? If it's false by default, well, I'm going to utilize my formula element and change my parameter this way. So I'm going to call this positive. I'm going to go to process parameters, positive result, and the value is going to be true. Now we're changing the value of this parameter to true. Okay, we're almost done with the first example, but as you can see right now, I'm only accounting for my positive result. So what happens if basically I get to a negative? Well, I get stuck at this point if I don't provide anything else, if I don't provide where a process can go at this point. So right now I have only a solution for my positive result. So what I need to do is insert another formula element. And what we can do, by the way, you can move the titles of your elements. And this time, what I'm going to do, one of the flows that I'm going to utilize is going to be a conditional one. So I'm using all other conditions that I have, but I'm going to show you that it's not, you don't necessarily need to do this. You can do a default flow and it's going to be acting the same way. We only have 3 potential results from this element: positive, negative, and canceled. If we had a lot more, then it would become problematic. You would have a very long description, or you want to change the description. Instead of doing that, what you can do is basically change this flow to default and get this. So in this regard, the way the process will execute, you will see the same thing. Whether it's negative, it's going to go here, or if it's not positive, it's going to go here as well. So let's call this element negative. Again, I'm going to utilize my process parameter, and I will put the value as false. As I mentioned before, by default, this field will be this parameter will have a value false. But if even though it is false, it's better to kind of like record it again. This way, you realize basically if you go through the tracing, or if somebody else clicks on this process, they'll see the formula value right away that we are setting without having to think about, well, is the Boolean false or true by default, if it's empty, things like that. So again, just prevents some confusion in the meantime. Okay, so negative, I can probably do this, and then terminate. Again, if I forget to terminate, I get stuck here and my process doesn't finish correctly. So this is my first process. As you can see, I'm utilizing both my parallel getaway to split my process and then to wait for both flows in order to finish with both positive results. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save my process and finish my setup in the case. And the reason if you're launching the process from the case and it's launched as a sub process, you always want to send the results back to the case, because if you do change the stage with the modified data element, which you can do, the problem with that, the process will not finish correctly. It's not, instead of the status completed, you're going to have the status canceled, which is not correct, right? It's going to be a little bit misleading. It's going to make you think that the process terminated incorrectly, while in reality, it actually finished in its entirety, and it did specifically what it needed to do. So the better, if you're launching as sub process, you need to make sure that whatever final changes you're implementing, the process basically sends those parameters to the initial either other process or case, and that's where you make the changes to the case, especially with case stages, that they're done here in the case designer. So, and I'm going to set that the result parameter is going to be if basically change stage after the element is completed. If result is positive equals true, then set stage to in progress, and if the result equals false, then cancel. Let's go ahead, save, and then basically test this out. Okay, we're done. So I'm going to refresh my page. Let me add myself to both of the roles. So I'm going to receive those notifications just for convenience. Again, I've used the managers. And it's going to be accounting managers as well. Okay, done. What I'm going to do next is go to my orders, open. Let's start with one of the orders. We're going to send it kind of like to the draft stage first, save, and then go back into the confirmation. Here it is. As you can see, I've received both approvals, sales department and accounting department. And let's go through the first process when I need to wait for both positive approvals. So I'll click approve, even if I refresh my page, you will see that the second approval doesn't disappear. It's still, the process waits for me to make a decision. Still on the confirmation. So let's click approve. And we have moved to in progress. Okay, so let's go back to draft and see what happens once we do this process one more time, but with the negative result. And we can, which one do we want? The accounting department, for example, we will utilize the default flow. And here's accounting. Let's hit reject. Provide some sort of comment. Canceled. Here it is, as you can see, and all the approvals are recorded here. The other one got canceled, so it's not showing, but not enough information. Here is my negative result. So this is how my parallel getaways help me navigate both splitting the process and then bringing it and waiting for it to come together to one point. Now, we're going to use the same process in order to show how to work with exclusive getaways. Basically, what I'm going to do next is add a condition saying that if the total of the order is more than 10,000, we have 2 approvers. If it's less, obviously, or 10,000, we're going to only have 1. So let's go back. I have this in my tab. I have this opened. And what I'm going to do is expand this process. So before I can split my process, I need to find out a little bit more about my record, about my order. So I need my order total. So I'm going to use the read data to read this order. Filtering out the records by record ID, and the record ID I have in my parameter. Now, the only thing that I need from my from this element right now is total. Here it is. And now I can split my process. So I'm going to utilize exclusive getaway and send my conditional flow. Say if the total is more than 10,000, 2 people need to take a look at this. If it's less or equals, basically, again, we're going to do 1 approver. Total more than 10,000, we go here and let's set up this condition, process elements, read order, total 10,000. Save. Okay. Instead of reusing one of these elements and basically I'm going to create a completely new approval element. And it's going to be default flow. And the reason I utilize default flow here instead of, again, a conditional one saying more than 10,000, go here. If I'm going to say less than 10,000, I forget about, well, what about 10,000? So if you have only kind of like 2 conditions, one where it specifically matters, you're checking for that condition, and the other one in all other cases, basically if the condition is in all other situations, utilize the default flow. It's going to save you from forgetting some other situations or maybe some other outcomes that you could not have thought about initially. So this is going to be, let's just do sales. Or actually I could, sales department. I could have copied this, but this is not too complicated. Order ID, again, role, sales department. So now we're gonna split again what we kind of like, so if it's only 1 approver, what do we do? Well, obviously we need to send we can either create more formula elements here, positive and negative, or we can reuse the existing ones here. Depending on the complexity of the issue that you're working with, both approaches would be are good. So again, if you have, in my situation, I can definitely reuse what I have already here. The only thing is, basically what I can do is say this, right? Kind of like moving it here, conditional flow, positive. From a technical standpoint, this setup is perfectly fine. It's going to execute correctly. It's going to go to positive. But what we want to do probably in terms of correct BPMN notation is we want to include another getaway here, just so again it's cleaner to read what's going on. So if I include my getaway here, one thing I do need to kind of move my elements so I have a little bit more space to work with. Change this flow to default and reposition basically this element. And again, the reason I'm doing this is more from the standpoint of cleaner BPMN notation rather than from this technical execution. When I'm looking at this diagram, I'm seeing that, okay, I'm reading my record, then something happens. It's either or, either this or this. Then it goes, well, we need to complete both of these flows. Then we need to wait for both of the results. And then we have either from here or from here. And then we get to positive. So again, a little bit cleaner to read. Same thing you could do from for the negative as well. It just, in my case, in the way I set it up, I'll show you again that from the technical standpoint, it is the same thing. It's just, as you can see, it's not gonna read as clean as I'd probably like it to be, but I can definitely do that. So we'll have these both again set up this way to show you that you can utilize to split the flows, your exclusive getaway, and to wait for either this flow or this flow in order for the process to proceed. So again, they work exactly the same on incoming and outgoing flows. Okay, so we'll wait for the process to save, and then we're going to test out how this looks like and how it works. So I'm going to go back to my section, and I'm not changing anything in the case itself. The results will be transferred. So let's find an order with less than 10,000. So my totals are displayed here. 4,800, that works. So what I'm going to do, again, I don't have any transitions between stages or logic for transitions, so I can just simply click. As you can see, I only have one approval this time. And if I go here and double check if maybe I'm not in all the roles, I'm not sure about that, so I can always check here. And if I have the permission to read, obviously, this tab and the approvals that are generated. And let's say I approve. We move to in progress. Again, let's do one more time. Here's my approval required, rejected, canceled. Okay, so as you can see, within one process, we utilize both parallel and exclusive getaways. And I think those are probably the most popular getaways that people utilize. Now, next, we're going to take a look at some getaways that kind of get a little bit overlooked. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you disagree with me. You can leave your thoughts in the comments, by the way. If you have any questions, let us know. we'll be happy to answer them. So the next process that we are going to take a look at is basically the process that will allow you to activate 2 or more flows depending if the record meets both of the conditions. So let's go ahead and build this process. So I'm going to call it search for discounts. And in this process, depending on the order total, we'll have 3 things that the user will see. Offer that up to 15% discount on different products. So we'll have an open edit page. Then we automatically create a 3% discount if the order total is, for example, 5,000 or more than 5,000. And if it's less than 5,000, then no discount available. So the process is going to be launched manually. Let's give it a name. Search for discounts. So we're going to start with read data again because we need the order total before we can split our flows. So before we can read the record, we do need the parameter. So anytime we are working with the manual launch process or a sub process, we always need to start with this parameter. Order ID, well, not the order ID, but just generally the ID parameter. And this is going to be an input parameter as well. So now that I have that, I can read my order. Here it is, where ID equals my parameter. And again, I'm interested in the column total. Okay, now this time, instead of doing the exclusive getaway, we're gonna do an inclusive getaway. What does this mean? It means that one record can basically fit into 2 conditions, and you can, if it does fit into 2 conditions, it's going to be processed in through 2 or more flows. If it's not, it's going to go only through 1 flow. So what we are going to do, we're going to have 3 conditions, basically 3 flows. Offer up to 15% discount if the total is more than 10,000, automatic 3% discount, and then no discount available pop-up message. And for the pop-up message, I have downloaded the add-on from the marketplace, so it is available there. It's free to use. I encourage you to use this element as well. I think in at least this regard, it's very useful. Instead of coding myself, because a pop-up message can be created only through coding means at this point, I've utilized this kind of like pre-configured element at this for this process. So let's set up the first condition. And the first condition is going to be if the total is more than 10,000. So read order total more than 10,000. Okay. We're going to do open edit page and offer the user to offer up to 15% discount. And the page is going to be our order page of this record. So the same record that we are processing, that we read. So here's my process order ID. Let's do the current user, obviously the one who is who is searching for discounts. And I'm going to copy my title here with this here. Again, you can then check whether the discount was offered. This is more of a flexible approach, saying, well, you can, or maybe don't feel like offering that. It's still okay. And then we're not going to be checking whether the discount was offered because it's quite optional step. Then let's set up a second one, which is going to be the automatic 3% discount. and the condition is going to be if the total of the order is more than 5,000, automatically offer 3% discount. Automatic 3% discount. So the object data, and here you probably want to, if you're not sure, double check. What we're going to be doing is modifying this discount percentage in the product detail, and the detail is called, if you take a look at that, if you need the object name, go to, for example, detail setup, product in order. So that's the object that we will be working with. Oh, 1 second. Oh, sorry. I need to close my extra tabs at this point. And this is product in order. Here it is. Where, since this is a one-to-many, one order can have multiple products, we need the one that had, for all the products for a particular order. So we are comparing those parameters. Order field or a column to the order ID. And let's do field discount percentage that we're modifying and put the value 3%. And last is going to be our pop-up window, basically saying that no discounts are found, and we're going to do a default flow here. So in all other cases, show this message. Oh, this is a bit of a intense color. No discounts, at least on my screen, available. So the message is going to be no discounts available, and to whom to show it, it's going to be our current user contact. So you select the message that you're going to display and who sees this particular pop-up. So now with this one, things are pretty clear. So once we see this message, we go here. What happens if the order is 11,000? Obviously, we fall under this condition, more than 5,000 and more than 10,000. If we just create flows and then go to terminate right away from here, so if we do this, you will have an issue because this is a system action and it happens, well, pretty much simultaneously, right? It takes a fraction of a second to complete. While the user actions take maybe a while to complete. The user needs to make a decision on which products to offer 15%, maybe 10, things like that. It's, again, labor intensive and time consuming process. So if we leave it like this, then basically once we go through the 3%, we're going to terminate. And the user will never see this page. In order for this not to happen, we need to make sure that if your process involves basically any combination of system action and user action, think about the time it takes for the element to be executed. And again, if you need the system to wait for the user here, because again, the record will meet this and this parameter. So automatically we're offering 3%, but we can go up to 15 if necessary. How do we do that? Well, we're going to use another one of our exclusive getaways. And we're going to be using another parallel getaway. So what we are going to do, let me delete this as well, basically say, if we're going to copy the condition that if we're offering 3% discount, we go here and say, okay, wait a second, double check if it's more than 10, then we need for both of these flows to basically complete until we, and only then we're going to terminate. So this is going to be, again, our more than 10,000. So we're duplicating this condition. Save. and then terminate from here. So what we have going on is we split with the inclusive getaway and automatically provide the discount if it's 5%, if we provide a 3% discount if it's 5,000, but offer up to 15 if it's more than 10,000. And the process will wait for in cases when it's more than 10,000 for both of these elements to execute until we reach the termination. So let's save and let's test this out. We're going to connect first our process to the section because it has to be launched per specific record. Okay, I'm gonna get from the page, and in the section wizard, I'm gonna connect this process to the section. Okay, this one is called search for discounts, and it's launched for selected records. Let's go ahead and hit save. So what we're going to do is test basically all three conditions at this time. We're going to go with the order that is less than 5,000, 5,000, and more than 10,000. So once we save everything, we're going to start with the simplest condition, basically with the pop-up message. Okay, almost there. Again, sometimes in cloud this can be a little bit slower or a little bit faster. Really depends on the demo instance where it's hosted, things like that. So just be patient and make sure you get the success message before you proceed. So let's refresh because we did make changes in the section wizard in order for the button to be displayed. Let's go back to the orders section list and find the order that's less than 5,000 for the no discount message. So here's the one, maybe this one. Yep. So small order, run process, search for discounts. No discounts available. Okay, click OK, it's going to terminate. Now let's go ahead and find one that is more than 5,000. So for example, this one. So it has a total 6,360. It looks like nothing happened, but it's just because we're modifying data, what we need to do is either integrate an auto refresh. At this point, I just need to refresh my page to see the changes. But once I do that, you will see that my discounts have been applied. Here it is, discount 3%, 3%. Here it is. Now, the last thing is the orders that will be more than 10,000. And let's, for example, do this one, which will basically be applicable for 3% and for 15% as well. As you can see, the 3% is already applied. I have my edit page offer up to 15. So I can do something like that, again, if necessary. So here it is, and I'm changing the total of the order. And you will know, again, because I'm seeing this page, I know that the process is waiting for me. And until I do finish working with this page, it's not going to terminate. So I'm gonna click save, and voila, everything is saved. I have my 15% discount, 6% discount, and 3% discounts for units that were added automatically. So this is how to use our inclusive getaway. Last but not least, and probably the one that gets overlooked the most, is the event-based getaway. So let's go ahead and create a process that will utilize specifically that getaway. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to create notifications here in this tab if the activity is not completed. So let's go ahead and build this process. And once the activity gets completed, we're going to remind the person basically that the activity is not done. Once it's done, basically we are going to stop sending these notifications. Again, this process is going to be launched manually, just because we're not really thinking of the logic behind this use case at this point. We're making it quite simple. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to utilize add data to add a new activity, kind of like, again, in the background without user doing this. So activities that get added automatically. This is probably the fastest way to do that. And we're going to call this add new activity. Which object to add this to is going to be our activity. One record, and we're going to set values to some of these columns. One record, okay. Oh, it just got a little stuck. So what I need here is basically a couple of columns that are going to help me set this activity. So I need my column category. I need, well, let's do owner, so I know the activity is for me. And then I'm going to do the start and subject. Okay, a couple of fields that are going to be populated. Category is going to be a lookup value. Let's create a to-do task. Owner is going to be the current user. Start, again, current date and time. And subject is going to be, well, let's do some simple text. New test activity. So after that, after the activity is created, we're going to utilize our getaway, our event-based getaway. And what we're going to do is utilize our intermediate events. We're going to have a timer and a signal, and wait for a signal, basically. In the event-based getaway, whichever signal, basically whichever event happens first, that flow gets activated. So what I'm going to do here, let's do this and this. I'm going to change this to a timer and this to wait for signal. So let's go through the timer first. We're going to set up kind of like a little loop here, and then kind of like a second, once everything is completed, exit through this process. So I'm going to create one more thing, one more element, and that's my notification. So if the timer runs out, and let's give it 10 seconds. So again, it could be a lot longer, but I don't want to, for the purpose of demonstration, to wait for the timer for a while. We are going to go here. And what we are going to do with this element, we are going to create a new notification. So activity notification. The object for it is going to be notification. Here it is. And it's going to be add one more record. And we need to preset the values so we know exactly which activity and which message we're going to be adding in that notification. So let's do the following columns. We need object. We need time. We need title. Unique caption ID, and we'll take a look at that. And basically to whom we are sending this notification. So our object is going to be a lookup, and we're going to go to activity. So we're selecting that from the lookup. Time is going to be date and time, current date and time. Title is the message that we're going to see, and it's basically going to be please complete this activity. To whom? To the current user. And unique caption, this is where we're transferring that record ID from the one that was created. So it's going to be a hyperlink, and we can go directly to that activity. So here things, as you can see, object and caption slightly maybe work a little bit unexpectedly, because again, the ID of the activity that we are trying to link in this notification is going to be transferred through the unique caption ID. So let me go to the process element, created record ID. Now, here's our loop, and we're going to go through it anytime, basically all the as many times as necessary. Well, up to 100, because in our settings we have maximum number of repetition is 100. So on the last iteration we're going to just terminate, and what we're going to do is set up how we can exit from this loop. Is basically when we get the notification that a signal that the record is completed. So it's a record signal. Record ID is going to be from the add new activity. So we're watching for this specific record in the object activity. Since the record is already created, so we're going to watch for record modified, changes in selected fields, in field status, because we want, once the status is set to completed, we're going to stop sending notification. So status, compare with value equals completed. So this is the signal I'm waiting for the record to be completed. Now, let's do one more notification so we kind of know that everything is done. We're just going to modify the message, and we're going to say activity completed. And terminate. Okay, again, this is a very, very simple process, but it will allow you to see that I'll be waiting for a timer multiple times. Once the record actually throws that signal that the status is completed, only then I'm going to see the second message, and I'm going to terminate my process. So let's go ahead and click save. As you can see right now, I have no messages here, and I can run this process really from anywhere. I can just click the run from process library. Here it is. And now I just need to wait for the system for 10 seconds, basically to see a first message here. Here it is. Please complete this activity. Here it is. And if I'm going to keep waiting, for example, here it is, 10 seconds more, and I'm going to keep getting these messages until I do something to my record. So as you can see right now, the timer gets done first. No signal is coming in. So let's wait for just one more message. Any second now. Okay, here's the third one. Let's do completed. Save. Right away, I get my activity completed message. As you can see, the system doesn't wait for any more seconds and gives me the message that the activity is completed. So voila, I'm done. And if I go into my process log, I think with this one, it's worth checking out the process log. Here's my activity notification, execution diagram. As you can see, I went 4 times through the timer. On the third time, when we got back here, so I got 3 messages, it was still waiting for the fourth one. And as you can see, these both get triggered, well, or basically activated, right? Every time we get to the getaway. And what it happens is that the system waits either this one or this one gets completed. Whichever one gets completed first, that's where we proceed. So really they start off, the system does start these elements, but then waits for the completion of either this one or this one. So once this one got completed faster than the timer, we went to activity completed and we terminated. Okay, these are the 4 examples that I wanted to show you today, basically showing you all 4 getaways and how to utilize them. I'm gonna be, we're happy to hear any comments, or maybe you want for us to explain an example that you're working with. Please share your thoughts in the comments. We'll be happy to help you out. And yeah, again, the chat topic we'll announce a little bit later when we can actually do that. I apologize for rescheduling it at the last moment, but due to technical issues, we had to switch topics today. I hope you found this topic exciting as well. And again, we wanted to cover this for a while because getaways are very, very helpful elements that allow you to truly get the most out of business processes and to split your processes in multiple flows elegantly without too much double work or things like that. So again, thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you in a week. Bye.